All right, we are going to talk about solar and lunar eclipses. So what is an eclipse? Okay, an eclipse occurs anytime something passes in front of the sun, blocking its light. This can be the Earth or the moon. So here you can see that there's all the sun's energy coming off, but we can't actually see the sun. Is there more than one type of eclipse? Absolutely there is. They are both solar and lunar eclipses. A lunar eclipse is when the Earth casts a shadow on the moon, causing the moon to go dark. So that would mean that the order of things would go sun, Earth, moon, because the Earth comes between the sun and the moon and casts a shadow. It would have to be a full moon because obviously you'd need to be able to see the moon to know that there is a shadow being cast over it. Solar eclipses. This is when the moon casts a shadow on the Earth, causing the sun to go dark. This is the one that everyone thinks about when they think of eclipses. So the moon comes between the sun and the Earth and casts a shadow on part of the Earth. The new moon is when this would have to happen, right? Because you can't have the lit up side of the moon crossing over the sun. Otherwise it wouldn't look like a full solar eclipse. All right, lunar eclipses. So the Earth moves between the sun and the moon, blocking the sun's light. I'm going to go over to this general direction, causing the moon to glow red. So here's the sun, here's the Earth, here's the moon. So when that happens, you have all this light coming, lights coming, and the Earth is in the way. So now none of what should have been the full moon, remember, because whenever the whole side of the moon is facing the sun, it should be a full moon. Okay, so whenever that side, all of a sudden the Earth blocks it, okay, you're going to get some shadowing. So the shadowing, the main shadowing that comes from the Earth is called the umbra, and the other shadowing is called the penumbra. The umbra is the, oh, here we go, sorry. The umbra is the dark inner portion of the shadow cone. So when you see the shadow, you're going to see there's a very dark area in the middle. And then the penumbral is the lighter outer portion. So types of lunar eclipses. You've got your total lunar eclipse when the moon passes completely into the umbra or total shadow of the Earth. So that would be the area right here. So when the moon's completely there in the Earth's shadow, then that would be a total lunar eclipse. You have partial lunar eclipses, which occur when the moon does not fully move into the umbra. So when it's somewhere in between the penumbra and the umbra, that would be a partial lunar eclipse. And then you get penumbral lunar eclipses. When the moon only passes through the penumbra or partial shadow, they are partially visible. So this is a total lunar eclipse. Okay, you'll see it go bye-bye. Okay, those would be total lunar eclipses. Okay, when the moon passes completely into the umbra or the total shadow of the Earth. So this is the Earth shadowing it. So in the beginning, and then you'll see the Earth move into it, and it's in the shadow. A partial lunar eclipse, you will see something like this. It almost looks like a different phase of the moon. So it does not move completely into the umbra, it's partially in the penumbra. So here's a penumbral lunar eclipse when the moon passes only through the penumbra and or partial shadow. So notice how it just darkens. Okay, it gets a lot darker, and so it is barely visible rather than being as bright as it normally is. So types of solar eclipses. Moving on to solar, obviously now. There's total solar eclipse, and this can occur if you are at the exact spot where the moon's umbra, which isn't very big, okay, hits the Earth, so the shadow of the moon is shadowing on the Earth. There's partial solar eclipses, which is visible if you are both in the umbra and the penumbra of the shadow, and this only exists when some of the moon will be shadowed. And then you have your annular eclipse, and it occurs when the moon is furthest from the Earth in its orbit, and it makes the moon look smaller. So during that eclipse, okay, you can see the outer ring of the sun from it. So this is a total solar eclipse. So you'll see it's moving, it's covering all of the sun, and all you see is the aurora, the array of light coming from it, and then it starts to move off. Partial solar eclipses, visible if you are both in the penumbra of the shadow and the umbra So you'll see a little bit of the moon shadowing out the sun. And then this is the annular eclipse. This is when, so the moon, like I said, orbits are always ellipses, right? And the moon is no different. So when it is furthest from the Earth and it goes through an eclipse, you're going to see this where it's not big enough to cover the entire sun. So it covers most of the sun, but you can still see the outer ring of the sun through it. That's the annular eclipse. So how often do these things happen? Well, it really depends. Lunar eclipses happen more often than solar eclipses. Well, everyone knows why, and that's because everyone who's experiencing nighttime during a lunar eclipse can see it. So solar eclipses are a lot more rare. You have to be in the exact spot on the Earth to see either the prenumbral or the umbral solar eclipse. And for the lunar eclipse, the whole half the Earth is black, so anyone who is there can see the change in the sky, the nighttime sky. So in a solar eclipse, the spot on the Earth is so small that the same place only sees a solar eclipse once every 350 years. So if you were to see one in Colorado, it wouldn't happen again. Or, excuse me, if you were to see one in Denver, Colorado, it wouldn't happen again for another 350 years. So why don't we see lunar eclipses more often? Well, lunar eclipses don't happen every day because the moon's orbit is tilted. So you guys know, like we said, it's in an ellipse, but it is also on a tilted axis. So it doesn't go like this around because the Earth is not the Earth is not like that, right? Remember, because of the seasons, the Earth is also tilted, so the moon's orbit is tilted. So during most months, the moon is above or below the Earth, and because of that, it can't directly block out the sun. So that's why we don't see lunar eclipses more often. So I'm not going to even try to say that word. I think it's syzygy is the times where the moon, the Earth, and the sun all line up perfectly for an eclipse. So it would be like this. This is a syzygy. Okay, and that would give you a full solar eclipse. Okay, or I guess it could also give you a full lunar eclipse depending on where you're at as well, because they can line up this way as well. All right, and that is solar and lunar eclipses. Thank you very much.